My daughter never meant for me to hear it. That might be the cruelest part of all. She simply forgot to hang up her phone. One careless gesture, one slip of her thumb. And suddenly her voice came through the line like a cold wind breaking into a warm room. "They're becoming a burden," she said. "We can't keep doing this. It's time we move them somewhere, a proper facility. We have our own lives to think about." I was sitting at the small kitchen table in our home in Cumberland Falls, twisting my reading glasses the way I do when the print starts to blur. Except this time it wasn't the print blurring. It was me. My wife Mara was wiping down the counter, humming her nervous little tune, the same tune she used to hum when the doctor told us our son needed stitches or when the mortgage company called asking why a payment was late. That tune stopped abruptly. Her hand froze mid-wipe. Then came the sentence that hollowed me out from the inside. "Their house alone could sell for 900. If we list it, we can finally clear the debts. Maybe even take that trip. Start fresh." I stared at the phone lying quietly beside my coffee mug. And because a man sometimes turns to humor when everything else inside him is collapsing, I muttered, "Well, at least she knows her arithmetic. That's something." Mara gave me a look, half wounded, half trying not to crumble. She reached out, placed a trembling hand on my shoulder. We didn't speak. We just listened as our daughter planned our disappearance from our own lives. The call eventually clicked into silence, a heavy, unnatural silence, like the whole house was holding its breath. I leaned back, the old chair creaking under me, as if it too took offense. My eyes drifted around the kitchen we built together piece by piece, the cracked ceramic rooster on the shelf, the faded curtains we bought on our 30th anniversary, the dent in the table from when our grandson, Oliver, dropped his juice box. All the small proofs that we had lived, loved, and worked harder than anyone ever knew. I remembered fixing the furnace in the dead of winter because we couldn't afford a repairman. I remembered sanding the front porch every summer so the kids wouldn't get splinters. I remembered carrying Lucy, our daughter, on my shoulders at the Independence Parade, her sticky fingers tangled in my hair as she shouted, "My dad is the tallest man in the world." Apparently not tall enough now. Somewhere between all those memories and the present, something inside me shifted, not broke, not yet, but shifted. I whispered mostly to myself, "They really think we're finished." The next morning, before Mara finished frying the eggs, we found the proof that our daughter wasn't just talking. She'd already begun. The envelope in the mailbox looked harmless, clean, ordinary. But ordinary envelopes don't make your stomach twist the moment you touch them. Mara handed it to me with that worried crease between her eyebrows. The one she gets when she senses a storm before it forms. The return address read, Vanda and Howe Real Estate, Property Evaluation Division. My throat tightened. We hadn't spoken to a realtor in decades. We had no plans to. This house was our anchor, our history. I opened the envelope with a butter knife because my letter opener has been missing for years, though Mara claims I simply enjoy misplacing things. Inside was a glossy packet of photographs. Our house, our porch, our backyard, shot at angles so clinical it made my skin crawl. Exterior assessment, preliminary listing preparation. Requested by Lucy Rowan. Mara's hand flew to her chest. "She ordered this," she whispered. I nodded, though the nod felt like sandpaper against my soul. I carried the packet to the living room and sat in my old armchair, the one Oliver used to call Grandpa's throne. It groaned beneath me. I patted its arm. "Easy there, old friend. They're not selling you yet." Mara let out a small, tear-choked laugh, the kind of laugh that keeps a man sane when he should be falling apart. But then I saw the notes attached. Recommended listing price, projected sale timeline, digital signatures, a line that read, "Parents are open to transition soon." My ears burned. They always burn when fury rises in me. "Transition?" I said aloud. "Did we agree to evaporate when I wasn't looking?" Mara took my hand gently, but I could feel it, both in her and in me, something long quiet beginning to wake. A stubbornness, a spine. And right as that awakening took root, a sharp knock sounded at our front door. Not a polite knock, not a neighborly one, a knock from someone who believes your home already belongs to them. My knee cracked loudly as I stood, ruining the dramatic effect. And when I opened the door, there stood Victor, our son-in-law. Clipboard, no smile, eyes scanning our porch like a buyer at an auction. "Morning," he said, "just dropping by." No man just drops by with a clipboard. He walked inside before I could respond. Every step he took sounded like a verdict. He photographed the living room, the fireplace, even the ceiling. Then he glanced at our family portraits on the wall. "These will need to come down," he said. "Buyers prefer a blank canvas." Blank canvas. My memories. My life. Something inside me snapped, quietly, cleanly, like a branch after too many winters. I stepped in front of him. "Put the camera down," I said. Quiet. Firm. He blinked, confused. "I'm helping." "That's the trouble," I replied. "You help like a man rearranging furniture in a house he doesn't own." Before he could respond, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, paled slightly, and hurried out the door without a word. Mara and I stared at each other. And then the phone rang inside the house. The caller ID read, "Vander and Howe, appointment confirmation." My blood ran cold. We hadn't accepted any appointment. A chipper voice spoke when I answered. "Hello, calling to confirm Monday at 10 a.m. for the sale discussion of your property. Will both of you be attending?" I panicked, utterly, and said the first thing that popped into my mind. "Monday? Oh, I can't. That's laundry day." Mara stared at me, horrified. Laundry day? But the woman simply laughed and said they'd pencil us in anyway. When I hung up, Mara sagged into a chair, defeated. I sat beside her, or tried to, missing the cushion and smacking my hip against the wooden frame. Mara let out a tiny, involuntary snort. "You'll injure yourself before they move us," she whispered. "At least then the ER won't try to sell the house," I muttered. And it was in that ridiculous mix of fear, shame, and humor that something hardened inside me. "Mara," I said, "they're making decisions for us, using our names, in our house." She nodded, eyes shining. "We need a plan," she whispered. And I said, "We will make one. But first, there's something I found in the attic, something Lucy doesn't know exists. And that changed everything, because inside that attic was the one thing capable of turning this entire situation upside down. And it was time to show Mara."
When my husband said, "There's something I need to show you," I honestly thought he had found another loose floorboard or some unfortunate spider I would be forced to evict. He is very brave with storms, banks, and strangers. With 8-legged creatures, not so much. But I saw the look in his eyes. It was not the look of a man who had spotted a spider. It was something older, heavier. A look I had not seen since the years when the children were small and the bills were large, and he would come home from work with his jaw clenched and his shoulders set, prepared to carry something he would not name. "Come on," he said quietly. "Upstairs." We climbed the narrow staircase to the attic, each step sighing beneath our weight. The attic smelled of old cedar, dust, and forgotten Decembers. I always say we should clear it out, and he always answers, "The dust pays rent, let it stay." But that morning the clutter did not feel cozy. It felt like it was listening. He went straight to the old steamer trunk in the corner, the one his uncle left him when he passed. For years I joked there was some ancient family curse inside, or perhaps gold, and that he was too stubborn to look because he liked not knowing. He knelt down carefully, his knees grumbling, and opened it. Inside, there were folders, documents, real ones. Not old Christmas cards and broken ornaments like I expected. He lifted a stack and handed it to me with a strange gentleness, as if he thought the paper might explode in my hands. "Read this," he said. The first page made my heart thud once, hard. Our will, our estate plan, our house deed. A letter from the attorney we visited so many years ago. I had nearly buried the memory along with the hairstyle I had back then. "Are these still valid?" I asked. He nodded. Every line, every clause. "I called the firm last month, after Lucy started talking about options for the future. I wanted to be sure." I flipped through, the paper rustling like dry leaves. Then my eyes caught on a particular paragraph, marked by my husband's handwriting in the margin from decades ago. A clause. No sale, transfer, or legal action involving our home could be made by anyone other than the two of us. Not by a child, not by a spouse of a child, not by anyone with big ideas and small respect. My breath caught. "She has no idea," I whispered. "Oh, she has plenty of ideas," my husband said, "just none that hold up in front of a notary." For a second, we simply stared at each other. Then something inside me broke loose. Not sadness, not yet. Something like relief mixed with fury. I started laughing. It was not graceful, not the kind of laugh you hear in polite restaurants. It was the sound a woman makes when she has been backed into a corner for too long and suddenly discovers the wall behind her is a door. My husband looked alarmed and patted my back as if I were choking. "Mara, breathe," he said. "I am breathing," I answered, wiping my eyes. For the first time in days. The fear that had been sitting in my chest like a stone began to shrink. Not vanish, but shrink down into something small and mean that could be stepped over. "They think they can pack us away like old winter coats," I said. "They think we are fragile, finished." He smiled then, that particular crooked smile he had when he coached Little League and caught another coach bending the rules. Not cruel, but not gentle either. The smile of a man who knows that patience can be a form of power. "I thought you would appreciate this part," he said. I put the papers back in order and closed the folder carefully. The attic no longer felt like a grave of old things. It felt like an arsenal. "All right," I said. "We have the law on our side, but they do not know that. Not yet." He raised an eyebrow. "You want to keep it quiet?" "Yes," I answered. "Let them believe we are confused, helpless, grateful for their help. Let them walk themselves right into the mess they made. The deeper they go, the harder it will be for them to pretend later they did not know what they were doing." I walked to the small attic window and looked down at the street. The maple tree he planted as a sapling now stretched over half the sidewalk. Children from the neighborhood played under it. Our grandchildren once tied ribbons to its branches. I had cried so much in the past few days that my eyes felt sore and dry. But now, instead of crying, I smiled. We did not just have hope, we had leverage. Just as I turned to tell him the next step, his phone buzzed against the attic floor. The sound was jarring in the quiet. He bent, groaning at his back, and picked it up. "It's from Lucy," he said. "Let me see," I answered quickly, taking it from his hand. I did not trust him not to throw it at the wall or out the window. The message was short. "Meeting confirmed. Since you two keep forgetting things, Victor and I will handle the paperwork. It's easier for everyone." I gripped the phone so hard that the plastic casing squeaked. "Careful," my husband said. "We cannot afford another phone." "Oh, do not worry," I replied. "We cannot afford anything. We are old, remember? Useless, forgetful, according to our well-informed daughter." Dust puffed up when I snorted, and I sneezed so violently I nearly collided with him. He held my shoulders until I steadied myself. "If we survive the dust," he said quietly, "we might just survive our own family." We went back downstairs, trying to walk as if our world had not just tipped slightly in our favor. Houses have a way of holding secrets until they decide to reveal them. I did not want ours to betray us. My husband paced the living room like a general, walking the map of a battle in his mind. I sat at the dining table, smoothing the worn tablecloth again and again, until the pattern blurred beneath my fingers. "We need a distraction," I said at last. He paused. "For what?" "For them," I answered. "Let them think we are weak. Let them think we are grateful. Let them think they control the situation." He frowned. "I am not sure I like where this is going." "We act exactly the way they already imagine us," I said. "Soft, confused, a little lost. That way, when the truth arrives, it will hurt more, because they will realize it was not only unkindness, it was arrogance." He looked offended. "Mara, I am already slow. I do not have to pretend." "Perfect," I said. "We use it." He tried to hold on to his pride for a few seconds more, then exhaled, shoulders dropping. "For the sake of the plan," he said, "I will pretend to be more confused than I am." "You accidentally put your slipper in the refrigerator last week," I replied. "You will not need to stretch far." "That happened one time," he protested quietly, "and the refrigerator is a very pleasant temperature." For the first time in days, we were not two frightened old people waiting to be shipped away like packages. We were partners again. That was when the doorbell rang. Not a simple ring. A rapid, insistent ringing, as if someone were trying to prove they had the right to stand there and lean on it. We looked at each other. We both knew who it must be. I parted the curtain just enough to peek. Lucy stood on the porch, pacing, phone in her hand, shoulders tight. Her composure, that cool assurance she always wore, was fraying. Behind her, Victor held a thick folder against his chest like a shield. My husband whispered, "Shall we pretend no one is home?" "We have 2 cars in the driveway and the kitchen light on," I said. "So," he replied, "we are very bad at pretending." I pressed my lips together not to laugh and opened the door. Lucy swept inside with the urgency of someone entering a place they already considered theirs. "Mom, Dad, we need to talk," she said, dropping her handbag on the sofa as if it were her own. My husband murmured, just loud enough for me to hear, "By all means," and I nudged his arm. Victor cleared his throat and raised the folder. "We brought the updated forms," he said. "If we can get your signatures today, we can finalize arrangements with the facility. They have a room ready." "The realtor," I said calmly, "was informed she was not welcome in my house. Did she fail to mention that to you?" Lucy rolled her eyes, that impatient grown-up roll that says, "You are not taking this seriously, and I know better than you." "Mom, please," she said. "We are just trying to help. You and Dad are overwhelmed. This house is too much. You need proper care, medication supervision, structure. It's not safe." Every word was dressed as concern, but underneath, there was something harder. Control. I remembered the plan. I glanced at my husband. He understood at once. His face loosened, his eyes went wider, his brow creased in a deliberate, foggy confusion. He shuffled a step closer, stooping his shoulders a little, as if the air suddenly weighed more. What is all this?" he asked, voice thin, uncertain. Lucy sighed in that wounded way adult children sometimes do when they decide their parents are an inconvenience. "Dad, we have gone over this already. You just forgot again," she said. "You two can't manage anymore. You forget your pills, you misplace bills, you let things go. You need full-time help." "A place like the dentist?" my husband asked gravely. I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep my composure. Victor pinched the bridge of his nose. "It's a senior community," he said. "They specialize in memory care, daily assistance. They are very professional." "Will they let me bring my chair?" my husband asked. "My knees like that chair." Lucy's face softened, just a little. That softness, that pity, was exactly what we needed her to feel. "Of course, Dad," she said quickly. "We will keep whatever makes you comfortable." Behind her back, my husband gave me the smallest wink. I nearly ruined everything by laughing. They spoke for several minutes. They described the facility as if it were a resort. Meals at regular times, medication delivered in little cups, gentle exercise classes. They spoke of it like a gift. My husband nodded obediently at intervals, saying things like, "That sounds very nice," and "Will there be pudding?" while I stood there and tried not to weep or throw anyone through the window. Finally, Lucy opened the folder on the table and turned it toward us. "Mom," she said softly, as if speaking to a child, "all you need to do is sign. Then we can handle the rest. You won't have to worry about anything anymore. You won't even have to think about it." It was that last part that did it. You won't have to think. Something hot and steady rose from my stomach to my throat. My husband reached for the pen, his hand trembling dramatically, hovering over the signature line. He looked every bit the confused old man they had decided he was. "Lucy," he whispered, voice shaking, Are you sure this is right?" She leaned closer, her features softening again. "Yes, Dad," she said. "Trust us." That was the moment. Perfect. Sharp as a blade. I placed my hand over his. "Wait," I said. My voice did not sound like the voice of a confused woman. It sounded like the voice I used when Lucy was 10 and tried to hide a failing test under her pillow. She froze. "Before we sign anything," I continued quietly, "you are going to sit down and listen to us. Not the way you have been listening, with half your mind on your schedule and the other half on your debts. You are going to listen like a daughter, not a manager." She hesitated, then sank slowly into the chair. Victor sat as well, because he never knew quite what to do with himself unless someone instructed him. My husband remained standing beside me, one hand resting on the table for support. His left knee hurt, I could tell, but he refused to sit. In that moment, he needed his height, however modest, to say what his spine could not. I folded my hands over the folder. "You think we are forgetful?" I said. "You think we are fading, that we sit here in this house, shrinking while the world moves on without us. You think you can make decisions over our heads because it is easier for everyone." My husband murmured, "She does not only think it, she is counting on it." I nudged him lightly. "I am old," he whispered. "Let me have a little mischief." I turned back to Lucy. "Do you know what your father and I were doing the day you and Victor decided to call realtors without speaking to us?" She frowned slightly. "What are you talking about?" "We were in the attic," I said, "looking through old documents, the kind you forget exist when you are busy deciding someone else's future." Victor shifted in his chair. My husband clasped his hands behind his back like a man about to perform a trick. "We found something," I continued, "something binding, something you did not ask about because you assumed we had nothing to protect ourselves." I opened our own folder, the one we had retrieved from the trunk, and laid the will and estate documents on the table. "Recognize these?" I asked. Lucy leaned forward, the color draining from her face as she read. I watched her eyes move line by line, watched her expression tighten, then fracture. "Wait," she said. This says—" "Yes," I cut in. "It says no one can sell this house without our explicit consent. Not you, not Victor, not any optimistically cheerful realtor with a tablet and a smile." Victor leaned closer, his lips moving silently as he traced the clause with his eyes. Small print can be an unforgiving thing. "But the realtor said, she told us," he stammered. "The realtor said what you wanted to hear," I replied. "But she did not know about this. You never thought to ask." Lucy pressed her fingers to her forehead. "Why didn't you tell us?" she asked. "Why didn't you say any of this?" "Because you did not ask," I answered. You spoke about us, around us, above us. You did not speak to us. You forgot we were people, Lucy, not furniture. You called us forgetful, but you were the one forgetting who we are. My husband spoke then, his voice lower than I had heard it in a long time. When you start behaving as if someone is already gone, he said, do not be surprised when they begin to disappear from you. The room went very quiet. The ticking of the clock sounded suddenly loud, insistent, like a witness. I slid the papers Lucy had brought back across the table toward her. We are not signing any of this, I said. You wanted control. You do not have it. Her hands trembled as she gathered the forms. Before anyone could speak again, the front door creaked open. Slow, hesitant. We all turned. I knew the footsteps before I saw him, long, uncertain strides, as if each one was an argument with himself. Our grandson, Oliver, stood in the doorway, 16 years old, taller than I remembered, shoulders hunched inside his hoodie, hands buried deep in the pockets. He looked at his mother. He looked at us. He looked at the documents on the table. Mom, he said quietly, tell me you did not really do this. Lucy's head snapped around. Oliver, wait in the car, she said. This is between adults. He shook his head. Grandpa called me, he said. My husband frowned. I did not call him, he whispered to me. I didn't either, I whispered back. Oliver sighed. I heard you both talking last week, he said to us. I was upstairs. You thought I was sleeping. I heard about the house, about the facility. I figured you might need someone on your side. The word side cracked something in me. We had never wanted sides. We had wanted a family. He stepped further into the room, breathing hard like he had run, though he had simply walked from the driveway. They're not things you can rearrange, he said to his mother, voice suddenly fierce. They're not burdens you can drop. They are my grandparents. Lucy opened her mouth, but he did not let her speak. You always say you can't come to my games because you are tired from working, from taking care of them, from all the responsibilities, he continued. They are the ones who come. They sit on the hard benches and cheer for every shot, even when I miss. They listen to me. They know the names of my friends. They remember things about me you don't. My husband wiped his eyes and pretended the sun was in them. There was no sun. It was cloudy. If they try to move you somewhere you don't want to go, Oliver said, turning to us, you can come to my room. It is small, but I'll sleep on the floor. Lucy's face crumpled then, not theatrically, not beautifully, just honestly. Her shoulders dropped, her eyes filled. She sank back into the chair as if her bones no longer knew how to hold her. I thought I was doing the right thing, she whispered. I thought I was being responsible. You forget things. You fall. You look tired. I am juggling so much. I thought if I arranged everything, you would be safe, and I could finally breathe. You could have told us that, I said softly, instead of planning around us like we were a problem to be solved in secret. Oliver moved to stand slightly in front of us, a small, clumsy shield. We don't need to be managed, my husband said gently. We don't need carers hovering over us and putting our photos in boxes. What we would like is to be cared about. There is a difference. Victor cleared his throat. So, the sale is impossible? He asked weakly. The sale is dead, my husband said. If anyone tries something like this again, they will have to go through us first. Then he looked at Oliver and added, and him. Oliver crossed his arms with sudden solemnity, as if he had just been given a title he did not expect but liked the weight of. We did not become a perfect family in that moment. There were still debts, there was still fatigue, there were still sharp words that could not be unsaid. But something shifted. Lucy wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand. I am sorry, she whispered. I forgot you were still standing. I looked at you and saw problems, not parents. I see that now. You will have to prove it, I said, with time, with visits that are not hurried, with questions that are not instructions. She nodded slowly. We can do that, she said. I can do that, if you allow me to try again. My husband looked at me. We had spent a lifetime learning when to hold on and when to let go. This was something we would not let go of, our home, our agency. But there was something else we could not afford to lose either. Our daughter. We will not forget this, I said. The hurt does not vanish because you say sorry. But we will give you a chance to be better than you were last week. Oliver let out a long, shaky breath. Victor looked at the floor, ashamed in that quiet way some men are when they finally realize their practical decisions have human costs. Later, after they left, after Lucy had hugged us too tightly and Oliver had promised to come by Saturday with one of his friends to help fix the loose railing, my husband and I stepped out onto the porch. Evening had settled softly over Cumberland Falls. The maple tree swayed in the wind. Its leaves brushed against the sky like a slow applause. My husband slipped his arm around my shoulders. Well, he said quietly, it seems we are not going anywhere. I rested my head against him. His heartbeat, though slower than years ago, was steady. No, I answered. We are exactly where we belong. Inside, the house creaked and sighed. Not like an old structure waiting to be emptied, but like a living thing, relieved. We were not young. We forgot things sometimes. Our knees hurt, our backs complained, but we were not finished. We were not furniture. We were not a burden to be priced, packaged, and removed. We were a man and a woman who had built a life. And for as long as breath remained in us, we would not let anyone erase that life with a pen stroke. The world might forget that the old still have voices. But that night, on our porch, with the wind in the maple leaves and our grandson's promise still echoing in my mind, I remembered something clearly. We had not come this far just to be moved aside. We had more to teach, and we still knew how to stand. And the house, our house, would stand with us. Of course, I'll continue the story, deepening the emotional arc and giving it a final poetic closure in the same intimate, first-person tone. Here is the next large section. In the days that followed, the house felt different. Not quieter, not heavier, just awake. As if the walls themselves were standing guard with us. Lucy called the very next morning, not with instructions, not with a plan, but with a soft, hesitant, "Mom, Dad, are you home? Can I come by?" Her voice trembled the way it used to when she was 12 and had broken a neighbor's window with a baseball. That same shy guilt, that same little girl sadness hiding under adult words. "We're home," I said. "We've always been home." She arrived within 20 minutes, clutching a paper bag from the bakery down the street, the one she never had time to stop at for years. Inside were pastries she used to love as a girl, almond twists, raspberry buns, and the cinnamon knots her father always pretended to dislike, but secretly devoured. She set the bag down on the table and looked at us with eyes that had lost all their previous sharpness. "Can we talk?" she asked. "We've been waiting to," my husband said gently. She sat across from us and folded her hands tightly, as if holding herself together. "I don't know when it happened," she began, "but somewhere along the way, I started seeing you two as tasks, things I needed to manage. I didn't mean to. I swear I didn't. But I was so overwhelmed with work, bills, the kids, everything. I got scared. I thought if I planned everything, I could protect all of us." "You tried to protect us by erasing us," my husband replied softly. She flinched, but nodded. "I know," she whispered, "and I'm ashamed of it. I forgot you were still strong, still capable, still you." I reached across the table and placed my hand over hers. "Do not forget again," I said. "Fear can turn love into something unrecognizable if we let it." She swallowed hard. Then, in a small, breaking voice, "Do you hate me?" I squeezed her hand. "No, but we were hurt, deeply, and healing is slow work." Her breath trembled in relief. My husband, who rarely gets emotional unless the weather changes too fast, cleared his throat 3 times before speaking. "Lucy," he said, "don't try to carry us as a burden. Carry us as family. That is enough." Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. "I can do that," she said. "I want to do that. I'll try, if you'll let me." Over the next weeks, she visited more, not to inspect, not to suggest, just to sit. Sometimes she brought Oliver. Sometimes Victor came too, quieter now, gentler, a little humbled by how wrong he had been. He fixed the crooked hinge on our back door. He repaired the step that had been loose for 5 years, not because he wanted the house to sell, but because he said he wanted to make up for being an idiot. That was his exact phrase. My husband nodded approvingly. One Saturday afternoon, while the sun filtered down through the maple leaves, Lucy helped me hang clean curtains in the kitchen. She used to hate chores, yet there she was, standing on a stool, smoothing fabric with careful fingers. "Mom," she said suddenly, "I want you to know something. I told the realtor we are no longer listing anything. I canceled the appointment. I told her there was a misunderstanding, and that I made it." "That's a start," I said. She paused, glanced back at me. "It's not enough, though." "No," I replied, "but it's honest." She stepped down from the stool, and for a moment we simply looked at each other, a mother and daughter who had walked a long, painful road back to the same place. She reached out and touched my arm. "I'm still learning how to be a good daughter," she whispered. "We are all still learning," I said, "even at our age." One evening, about a month after everything unraveled and began to mend, my husband and I took our usual walk around the neighborhood. The air smelled of rain-soaked earth. Children rode bicycles along the sidewalks. A dog barked from somewhere behind a fence. The world felt ordinary again, blessedly ordinary. As we rounded the corner, we saw Oliver waiting on our porch steps, backpack beside him. "What are you doing here?" my husband asked. "I came to help with the garden," he said. "Mom said Grandpa's back is bad today." My husband straightened, too quickly, trying to appear younger, stronger. "My back is fine," he muttered, then reluctantly, "mostly." Oliver grinned. "I'll do the heavy lifting," he said. "You can supervise. You're good at that." My husband puffed up with pride, the way he used to when teaching the kids how to hammer a nail without hitting their thumbs. For the rest of the evening, the 3 of us worked side by side in the soil. We pulled weeds, we trimmed the hedge, we lined the garden path with new stones. At one point I stood back and watched them, my husband giving instructions, Oliver listening with the patient respect of someone who understands that age is not weakness, but history. And I felt something warm bloom inside me. Not triumph, not victory, something quieter, restoration, the kind that grows slowly, like roots beneath the earth, anchoring a family before they even know it. Later that night, after Oliver left and the frogs began singing down by the creek, I sat on the porch with my husband. The wooden boards beneath our feet felt familiar, like an old friend settling into place. He looked at me with a soft smile. "Well," he said, "we survived it." "Yes," I replied, "and we are stronger for it." He reached for my hand. "You know," he said, "when I found those papers in the attic, I didn't just feel relief. I felt something I hadn't felt in years." "What's that?" "Hope," he said. "Not the fragile kind, the kind that stands its ground." We sat there quietly, wrapped in the sounds of our little town, distant laughter, the creak of branches, the hum of a passing truck, and the world felt generous again. For the first time since our daughter's voice had spilled through that forgotten phone call, I felt truly safe in our home. Not because of the documents, not because of legal clauses or boundaries. Because our family finally remembered that love without respect is not love at all. And respect once reclaimed, can transform even the most broken places. I leaned my head on my husband's shoulder. "We're right where we belong," I whispered. "Yes," he said softly. "We always were." The wind rustled the maple leaves above us, gentle, approving, the sound of a home exhaling after a storm has passed. And I realized something then, something I will carry with me for the rest of my days. Growing old is not the same as being finished. And love, when given room to breathe, can return stronger than before. That night ended quietly. After Oliver went home, after Lucy sent a message that read, "Good night, I love you," something I hadn't heard from her in years, my husband and I turned off the lights in the house slowly, like closing the last page of a familiar book. In the hallway, he paused and looked at me. "Did you notice?" he said softly. "The house is breathing again." And it was, not like before the hurt, not like before the fear, but like a home that had survived a storm and still stood steady, anchored by years of living. We went to our bedroom, and while I closed the curtains, he looked out at the quiet street, the old lamp glowing, the porch swing moving just a little with the wind. "They forgot who we were for a while," he murmured. "But we didn't." "And now?" I asked. He smiled, tired but peaceful in a way I hadn't seen in months. "Now," he said, "we live, the way we always have, with strength, with dignity." I walked to him and took his hand. "With love," I said. "With love," he echoed. We turned off the last lamp. In our house, still our house, and always our house, and lay down side by side the way we had for so many years. Outside, the wind moved through the branches of the maple tree, whispering gently, "You belong here." And we did. Not because we were needed, not because we were young, but because we were still us. And that was enough. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of family, resilience, and redemption.